I'm Monica Collins, and this is Office Hours Live with Will Brownsberger. I'm hosting the show. I'm a journalist. I live in Belmont. I'm a writer, and I'm a quizzer of Will. Every month we have a show where I get to ask Will whatever I want, and he gets to answer. And you get to ask him, too. Please call us. The number will be on your screen, or text. Again, the number will be on your screen. Will is looking at his cell phone right now. He's always connected to his technology. But welcome. Will, we are talking here on Thursday, March 6, 2008. And on Tuesday, March 4th, there was a primaries. There was a primary in Ohio. There was a primary in Texas. There was a primary in Rhode Island and Vermont. And Hillary Clinton won 3 of those primaries, which stopped the tide of Barack Obama, who had won 11 primaries. What is going to happen now? Do you play this out in your head or talk to your colleagues about this, your fellow Democrats? Will is a Democrat, by the way. And he represents the 24th Middlesex, which includes Belmont, North Cambridge, and East Arlington. So do you talk to your fellow Democrats about these matters?
Oh, sure. Sure. That's one of those subjects of conversation. I don't, at this stage, now that it's past Massachusetts, I don't think we have any special ability to judge what's going on. So we're just consumers of the information for the most part, and, like everybody else, wondering what is going to happen. It'll be real interesting.
How are you parsing it at this point?
Well, I think one of the interesting things that's going on is that I think, in the big states, Hillary's doing relatively well, right? I mean,
right.
California, Texas, Ohio,
right.
New York. So the larger states that have a big Democratic establishment, she's done relatively well. When you go to places that, maybe sort of red states that don't have as big a Democratic
right.
establishment, the Democratic establishment may not exactly be an establishment,
mm-hmm.
and those are the places where Obama has sort of swept. So it'll be interesting to see how those different factors and patterns really, end up balancing out.
What do you feel he needs to do now? We're talking about Barack Obama. Up to this point, he's given these wonderful speeches. He's certainly impressed upon the electorate who's voted for him the need for change, the need for difference, the need to be different in politics. However, he then had the kitchen sink thrown at him by Mrs. Clinton, and he seemed to reel a little bit under the blows. And I'm hoping he can now prove that he can come back and win our hearts all over again. My colleague, Marjorie Egan, a good friend, she compared Hillary Clinton to Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction, that just when you get her under the water, she'll come back up at you with a knife.
Wow.
And that Barack Obama...
That's an unfavorable comparison, really.
Barack Obama does he need to learn to fight back, or can he just be Barack and let it go at that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's getting a lot of advice from a lot of different people, and they're all getting a different advice. I think, it is the beauty of, we regret these long campaigns, but it is a great thing to really get a look at the candidates from a whole lot of different angles, see how
right.
they perform under pressure.
Right.
That is what it's all about, is performing under pressure. And because it is a tough job being president, and it's a tough job being a candidate, and it really fleshes people out. And so it is a positive thing about our lengthy presidential campaign.
What does it do to Democrats, though? Are they eating their young? I mean, will they be... Pennsylvania is 7 weeks away.
I think that this could play out. I'm sure that the Democratic leadership, including the 2 leading candidates, are well aware of that danger. And I'm sure that they are, on the one hand, each trying to win, and on the other hand, keeping their eye on what happens in the long run and recognizing if they go very negative against each other, the shine's going to go off of both of them. So that's the standard wisdom about negative campaigns. You know, A attacks B, C wins.
Right.
And so.
Do you think that Obama, because right now he's the underdog again, do you think he's feeling any pressure from Hillary, Democratic higher-ups to drop out for the sake of the party?
Do you think he's feeling pressure to drop out?
I hope he's not.
No, of course not. No, he's ahead in the delegate count. No, I don't think either of them at this point, given what Hillary was able to do on Tuesday, is feeling pressure to drop out. I mean, so it's going to go down to the wire. It'll be interesting.
In our state, definitely the state leadership divided. We had Sal DeMacy and Therese Murray supporting Mrs. Clinton, and of course, famously, Deval Patrick supporting Obama. And you admitted that you had voted for Obama, that you were in that camp.
Right, and that it was a close call, and I didn't endorse. I voted at the end, as opposed to endorsing early and playing an early role in the campaign. But
right.
I did vote for Obama. Yep.
Well, is that a division in the state, or has it all been put behind and we move on?
I don't think that's a division among. No, I don't think that's a division. No, I mean, listen, most people that I know said, you know, it's wonderful to have two great candidates, and that's what it is. At the end of the day, you have to choose. You have to have, you know, strawberry or vanilla, but doesn't mean you don't like vanilla if you choose strawberry. And I think that's the way most people feel. Some people, you know, when they make a decision, feel like they have to justify it by saying the thing they didn't choose was bad, but I certainly don't feel that way, and I don't think most people are doing that.
So you're not going to be one of those Democrats that voted for Obama, but then when you get the choice of Hillary Clinton or John McCain, vote for John McCain?
No.
Because I have heard people say that.
Well, you know, I think you get into the idea that you want an independent voice and you want change,
right.
and because people have had so much baloney coming at them out of Washington for the last few years that they really are very fed up with the national government. So they do want change, and so people who can position themselves as agents of change, you know, wear that mantle that is advantageous politically. But at the end of the day, we all have to deal with the same realities. You know, whoever's president is going to go and face, you know, 100-some thousand troops in Iraq and you know, and all kinds of problems, and those problems are what they are. So we really do have to have a conversation about how to deal with those problems and get past the idea of merely change for change's sake. So I don't think that's what it's. For me, that's a superficial campaign pitch to just talk about change. I mean, that's just the beginning of what we need to do. The world does not change on January 20th.
Right. It's true. The world will not.
Yeah.
But we will have a different leader to kind of lead us through the muck and the mire.
Correct. And so that's why you got to talk about what's in that muck, what's in that mire, and exactly
right.
where we're trying to get. And so you have to have that conversation. And you know, I think we're going to be treated to another few months of it.
When Deval Patrick ran for governor, he used soaring rhetoric, and indeed his friend Barack Obama stole a little bit of that. But right now, he is deep into his tenure as governor, and the most significant thing that he has come forward with, of course, is legalized gambling in Massachusetts, that I can see. And it's now coming down to the wire for legalized gambling in Massachusetts. Today, the Boston Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, said that it supported pretty much Deval Patrick's numbers, whereas 3 casinos in the state, one in Western Mass, one in Southeastern Mass, and one in the Boston area, could generate $200 to $300 million each over 10 years, generate revenue for the state.
No, I think that's an annual number.
That's an annual number.
Yeah. You're talking about $600 million in revenue
annually.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
That's the estimate. Yeah.
And they say that the Chamber of Commerce agrees with the Patrick administration that this is what these.
Did they embrace the revenue numbers?
They embraced the revenue numbers. In
Okay,
fact, they even upped them a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't seen their report, but.
So there's change for you. There's a whole lot of change.
Yeah, right.
And I want to ask you, Will, Have you ever gambled?
Have I ever gambled?
Yes. Have you ever
Well-
gone to Las Vegas or?
I've been through Las Vegas as a kid. I was too
Yeah.
young to gamble then.
Yeah.
In December, I visited a couple of casinos with my 19-year-old daughter, and we went down to Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun just to see them. We didn't gamble. I've certainly enjoyed a good game of poker, which I
Okay.
do, as frequently as I can, which works
Yeah.
out to only a few times a year, but I do that.
Right.
In a neighborly way. And I think I may have dropped a little bit of change into a slot machine in Atlantic City when I was there to run a marathon in 1991. So that's my gambling experience. That's about it.
Did you and your daughter go down to the Connecticut casinos as research?
We did. It was a field trip to kind of get a sense of what those two places really looked like.
Weren't they? I've only been to Mohegan Sun.
Yeah.
Mohegan Sun. I keep calling it Monhegan after
Yeah.
the island in Maine.
Yeah.
But Mohegan Sun, I've been there. It is an amazing place. It rises out of the
Oh yeah.
Connecticut countryside, and I hear Foxwoods is similar. That it's just this. It's like a mirage in the middle of leafy Connecticut.
Yeah, no, I think to me that's one of the least appealing things about the whole casino concept is the idea that what we're going to do, and the way Duval has framed it is destination resort casinos.
Right.
So that means you're going to find three places, that today don't have anything in them.
Right.
You're going to level them. You're going to level the forest or whatever's there, and you're going to put up a lot of buildings and concrete, and that just to me is the opposite of the kind of development that we should be trying to encourage in Massachusetts. I think we should be trying to encourage development in our cities, in our town business centers, and that's where we should be trying to create the jobs, not out in the middle of no place and have everybody drive to those locations. Environmentally, it makes no sense, and I don't think it makes sense from a character of economic development standpoint. I want to strengthen Belmont Center. I want to strengthen Cushing Square. I want to strengthen Arlington Center in Cambridge and Boston. And the way this development has been shaped up, it doesn't do that. I think it'll do the opposite. I think it'll weaken those locations.
You do?
I do. I mean, because it's going to compete with them.
Well, right now, those locations are lovely locations, and Western Massachusetts brings to mind all sorts of wonderful, idyllic vistas, but to have a gambling casino out there, it just seems very anomalous.
Yeah. No, that's not my vision of where we ought to go in the state.
Oxymoronic.
Yeah. No.
Were you contacted by the Globe for its poll?
I was.
Did you answer that poll?
I did. I said I was leaning against.
Leaning against.
And I have to say, I'm at this point, I'm going to vote against them.
You are.
Yeah.
In that article, the Patrick.
I mean, I want to leave a slight door open in case something was worked out, but as it's shaped now, I'm going to vote against it.
So hearings begin this month, right?
Yeah.
And
it's not like we haven't had a lot of talk about it though already.
oh, sure. But the Daniel O'Connell, the governor's economic development secretary and chief gaming advisor.
Right.
What a title.
Right.
Said in an interview yesterday, this is talking to the Globe, that administration officials are trying to meet with every legislator to make their case, including setting up one-on-one meetings between the governor and key lawmakers. Have you been contacted by Mr. O'Connell, the chief gaming advisor?
I haven't been contacted by Mr. O'Connell, but when they mean key lawmakers, they mean undecided lawmakers.
Right.
So that's who they're trying to talk to.
And tonight you say that you will probably vote against it. But you sound like you have a teeny little window of opportunity.
Teeny little window of opportunity. I never want to say never on a complicated issue. But that is the way it's shaped now and the way it's likely to, I can see it evolving. I'm against it.
So what about those undecided lawmakers? Who's talking to them?
Well,
Your
I gather,
comment.
I know some people have had one meetings with the governor, and other people just it's all over the map as to how that's being done.
Now the governor says, because I heard him today on the radio, and the governor says when it was put right to him about DeMacy and their conflict about this, we're talking about Sal DeMacy, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and your titular leader.
My leader.
Your leader. I was going to say titular boss, but I was
Not
basically
exactly a boss. That's a little different, but go
he's
ahead.
your leader.
Okay.
And the governor was very quick to, cast aside any personality conflicts or anything like that. And he just said, look, okay, fine. You don't like gambling? You don't like my gambling proposal? Come up with something.
Well, I think that's a little bit of a facile thing to say, but let me agree with the governor in some important ways, and then try to put it in context.
Okay.
I think the governor is very, very right to be focused on how to create jobs that are available to people of low and medium skill levels. That is a huge and central challenge for us at this time in the Commonwealth.
How to keep our middle class.
Yeah.
And how to keep them middle class.
Keep them middle class, exactly, because manufacturing jobs have left the state,
right,
as they have left the country,
right,
as they have left modern European democracies, and have moved into developing countries where people will work for a heck of a lot less. And they're just as smart and just as hardworking as we are, but they are in a position where they'll work for a lot less, and it's an irresistible draw for manufacturing companies. And there's nothing that's going to change that in the short run, because those countries have a long way to go before they get up to be like us in terms of income levels and expectations in terms of compensation. So that's going to be so those jobs are gone. So we have to think about that issue. And casinos have that virtue. That is the most powerful argument for me, weighing on the other side of the ledger. The revenue we can solve a lot of ways, but the jobs is harder. However, both Deval and the legislature are doing a lot to speak to the issue of jobs. And Deval would be the first one to say, well, this is not the only thing we're doing. This is just one part of our economic development strategy. We're doing about affordable housing. We have our life science initiatives. We have targeted tax credits for different industries. We have vocational training programs. We're trying to develop science and math in the schools and all of that kind of thing. So there's a lot that both the legislature and the governor are doing, and I think we just need to keep doing more and more.
Oh, we have a call. We have Jason on line 1. Jason.
Hi there.
Hi. Go ahead. You're with Will Brownsberger.
Hey there.
Hi. I've heard about the telecom tax that the governor is collecting from Verizon.
Yes.
And what's that money going to be used for? And aren't there some other ways the state could raise money besides gambling?
Well, there's lots of different ways that ways the state could raise money. The Verizon thing is property taxes on poles and wires and so forth, the property that the telecommunications companies own in communities. Those properties were exempted from local property taxation going way back, I suppose, to encourage the phone company to invest in those and to roll them out across the state. And that's still an argument against that taxation, because there are still parts of the state that do not have broadband access to the internet. But what Deval proposed was to remove that exemption, and that would be a benefit to most communities. It would be a material benefit to Belmont. I forget the exact number. It would be a big benefit to Cambridge, which has a huge, massive taxable telecom equipment in it, which would be a couple of $1 million a year. But those would be increased property tax revenues for communities. Now, the fascinating thing is that just this week, the Appellate Tax Board made a ruling which accomplished what Deval has proposed. They found, as a matter of law, that those things should not be exempt from taxation. I'm not quite sure what the basis of their decision was, but if that ruling stands, then as a legislative question, it's all over. That's done. And so, is that responsive to your thought?
Yes.
Okay.
But are there other ways the state can raise money?
Well, there are so many other ways the state can raise money. Not to make it. All of those involve taking money from people or businesses in one way, shape, or form. But there's lots of ways to do that, and some that are more painful than others.
Thank you, Jason, for the call.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
I saw a fascinating report on local TV a couple of nights ago, where they had an executive or a board member of the Mass Pike, and was talking about if they clamp down all the giveaways that they've given away with the Mass Pike, that if they collected all those monies, it'd be something like $24 million per year.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Think about this. If we the tax cuts that the state passed between, from 1990 through 2000 or 2001, excluding the income tax cut that the people voted in well, I guess that was 2000, total $3 billion, $3 billion with a B dollars, and that's on a our budget gap at the state level is $1.3 billion. So we'd be in a very different place if we hadn't engaged in a lot of tax cutting. Now, all of that tax cutting was motivated by, with good intentions, sense to keep money in the pockets of the people. But the state has cut taxes by huge amounts over the past many years, and then so that could be readjusted a bit in the reverse. I think it's so important that whatever we do, we think about what it's going to do to people, and don't lay it on the backs of those who are least able to pay and creating wrong incentives.
Well, this is where leadership really comes in, doesn't it? And creativity in leadership. That when you think of growing the middle class, of growing the working sector, of raising money for the state, of keeping the state alive, basically.
Yep.
And you think gambling? Oh, we'll build a gambling casino. It doesn't seem to me that that's like the most creative way you can raise money.
No, I mean it's sort of brute force. I mean it's opening a door to. We could by legalizing a lot of different vices, we could raise a lot of money that way too.
It's brute force.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's brute force.
Yeah.
What about cell phone towers? I mean, do cell companies pay us for land rental? I mean, every little bit that the state could be getting from industry, is it getting?
Oh well, no, of course not. I mean, there's lots of money that we take from industry, and so you can ask the question of how that adds up, and is it too much or too little? And one of the interesting things, of course, is Massachusetts is not Taxachusetts. Total amount of taxes by a lot of different measures are relatively moderate. But that's different for different kinds of businesses. So if you're a business that, for example, holds a lot of property,
right,
then Massachusetts may feel like a high tax state because we have fairly high property taxes. If you're a business that's generates all of its income inside of Massachusetts, but has no ability to sort of transfer that income anyplace else, we may feel like a fairly high tax state. If you're a business that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of flavors of businesses. So it's a very complicated question and not one that's easy to answer. I don't pretend to have my mind around it completely.
Well, I'll tell you, let's look at the situation with Polaroid.
Yeah.
Polaroid was in Cambridge, Massachusetts,
Yeah.
and was a huge business that satisfied the academics, the PhDs, and the blue-collar workers. I mean, Polaroid spanned the
Wonderful company.
It was an incredible company.
Yeah.
And we don't have many Polaroids in Massachusetts anymore. We have very elite little software companies. With the software initiative that the governor pushed for, how much for software for technical development, you just referred to it. The initiative.
The Life Sciences Initiative.
The Life Sciences Initiative.
Yeah, the Life Sciences Initiative.
That's not going to employ a lot of blue-collar workers, I don't think.
Correct. I mean, I think that's one of my concerns about it. I mean, I think we need to have some realism. It highlights the need for all multiple components to our development strategy. I mean, I think it's a valid component. I mean, as somebody who, I'm having spent 10 years in government at this stage, and really more. Count 10 years as an elected government and some more years as an appointed official. I have a sense of the physical, sort of feasible limits of what government can do. And so I have reservations about programs that involve government picking winners and losers in the business field. I tend to think that what we need to do is create a level playing field, create a playing field that people can work in, good infrastructure, quality housing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Make a place where business can really work. And then that's how we win. But across the globe, people are doing more than that. I mean, countries like Singapore are really bidding hard to attract
Right.
places, biotech businesses.
Right.
Other states, North Carolina, California, and so forth, are bidding hard to attract biotech businesses. So in that environment, I have to sort of go along with those who want to make sure we're competitive by providing all the support and incentives that we can create to keep that business vital.
Well, let's look at a small little thing, is the Mass Film Bureau.
Yeah.
How that has been remade.
Yeah.
How Massachusetts has now become a destination
Yes.
for many films.
Yes.
And it really shows that it can be done if you put your mind to it. And Nick Paleologos is doing a wonderful job. And this is after Massachusetts was trashed a few years ago because Teamsters were taking horrible kickbacks, and it was known as the most corrupt place to try to shoot a movie. But now it's Hollywood East.
It's Hollywood East. I met a friend of mine from high school who is in the business and gave me an independent confirmation that that sales tax cut that we gave the film industry made a difference. The thing we did last summer to reduce taxes on the film industry, we're coming there because of that. And I don't think she had any reason to make that up to influence me. All right. You always suspect that you're being gamed when people say, we need the tax cut because everybody wants a tax cut. We'll locate in the state if you give us a tax cut. And of course, that doesn't always pan out. But in that instance, it seems to have worked out pretty well.
It's worked out really well, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what you want in government, and that's what you hope people are thinking about, all these things that could come together into a mosaic of economic resurgence.
That is so exactly what it is. It's a mosaic. It is not one thing. It is not a magic bullet. You cannot summarize it in a single, simple strategy, but it has to be a sustained effort to think about how we can do better in area after area after area. But I can tell you that I think most of the people at the top level of the state get that. Whether we're doing it right, I don't know, but I know we're trying. I mean, I think the governor gets it, the speaker gets it, people at senior legislators, they all get it. They understand that we have to develop our economy. We have to be open to a whole variety of different ways that that's going to happen.
And this is what leadership is all about.
This is what leadership is all about.
Coming up with new ideas and initiatives, with creative thinking about all this.
And listening carefully. I think it's a big part of what it's about is listening carefully to what businesses and people are telling us about what would help them do better. And so that is what we really, really need to do is listen carefully for the good ideas. Because they don't come full.
Folks, send in your ideas.
There you go. You can't just think of them. I mean, they don't come from inspiration. They come from understanding.
Lobby. Send in your ideas, really.
Yeah,
I mean, that's where you get the ideas,
that's
right? They bubble up.
Absolutely.
Last thing, when do you anticipate the vote for the gambling?
Well, I don't control that, as you know, and I'm not party to.
Maybe one day you will, Will.
Well, I won't. I suspect it's going to be soon. I think I get a sense that
before July 4th.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if it was in the next 2 months.
Okay,
I wouldn't. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised. I think people want to get it over with. It's getting to the point where
they do.
Yeah.
Enough already.
Yeah.
Listen, folks, thank you so much for joining us. We're not gambling. We're back here next month. And I want to thank Will.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
My pleasure.
And I want to thank all of you for watching. I'm Monica Collins. Good night.